No longer muted. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of The Sigma Show. This is a new podcast. It's going to be live streamed. We're going to have the audience join us in the conversations and whatnot. So, if you're familiar with the BBET Games Cast, it's going to be somewhat like that, but in other ways, somewhat different. So, I hope you guys enjoy. If our sound is off, definitely let us know, because just like any other live stream, we're going to probably have some technical difficulties. So, forgive all of that stuff. But before we get into who's here with me, let's actually run down a list of what we're actually going to be talking about today. So first up, we're going to be touching on the new Microsoft reports of them finding a loophole into bringing their streaming services to Apple devices, Amazon launching their new cloud gaming service Luna, the new rumors around the Spider-Man movie, the Invincible trailer for the new animated adult series coming, and Sony's recent teardown video where they kind of gut the PS5 and kind of show us the ins and outs and inner workings of that. So joining me today is Blue Bones. What's up?
What's going on, yo? What's up, Sigma? Thanks for having me on the pilot episode.
Yeah, no
of the
problem.
Sigma Show.
Always happy to have you here. Let's jump right into it then. First up is this Microsoft story. So
Yeah.
in the past, we've talked about how Apple hasn't really been too friendly for these other services that are trying to do streaming games on their platform, right?
Right, yeah. No, they're trying to keep their stuff on top to be frank. And they don't want it taken over by these game streaming apps.
Right.
The
In one
gaming
way or
network.
another, they're just being difficult, right?
Mhm.
So Microsoft has apparently come up with a backdoor solution where they're literally just going to go through the browser. So you'll go to some website, and all the functionality for the game streaming services is going to be there. The same service is coming to the Xbox itself. So like there'll be a game streaming app that you can access via your console as well as your web browser. So you can do this from your computer at the same time, which I think is probably the best course of action.
So I'll tell you what scares me about all this.
Mhm.
Um, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and when a hurricane comes through or a storm comes through and knocks out my internet, am I still gonna be able to play some of my games? Now, I think that's kind of the problem already. Does Game Pass? I think it still needs to connect to the internet to activate, right?
Well,
These games
to download stuff for
to
sure,
download
but then
stuff.
I guess it still depends on the game whether it has a constant online connection or not.
Exactly, yeah. So that's my scariest thing about this whole service having to be connected to the internet, because we do have outages, and but other than that, I think they found a pretty decent loophole for Apple's obstructions that they've been sending up, and especially I think one of the biggest things that they were trying to dodge was the 30% profit splitting that
Yes,
Apple's really
absolutely.
holding on to. Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, it works out for the majority of the consumers. Like Xbox normally preaches. They
I
looking
mean,
for
yeah,
us
they're
for.
really riding that super consumer friendly train right now, and I really doubt that they're going to do anything to screw that up at this point, because like what Apple was proposing would be very bad in terms of functionality. Like you literally have to search out every single individual game that's supposed to be on this big cloud service, and the only
Yeah,
thing Microsoft gets out of it is less money because Apple takes a cut of any in-game purchases. So like it's stupid. They'd be
yeah.
really stupid to even go that way. Um, Jeff throws out the suggestion they want to buy Apple Arcade. Who does Microsoft?
Who
I
wants to buy Apple Arcade?
Yeah, I don't know how that would. I don't know how that would work. As much money as Microsoft has, I don't know if they could buy something out from under Apple because they're also kind of huge in terms of
I
like
don't.
cash.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have the leverage to even make that deal sound reasonable.
Yeah, and
I
I don't
can't
think
think of.
anybody would like let those two companies merge either. Like I don't think that's happening. But
Yeah.
DJ also adds, but Apple is so user unfriendly for streaming. That is true. Honestly, I feel like Apple is user unfriendly. Period.
I disagree. I've had both Androids and Apples for years, and not saying that my current iPhone is better than the Androids that I've had before,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's user unfriendly. I think it does everything that I need it to do. It works well in my circles and the industry that I'm in. So I don't think it's user unfriendly. I actually think quite the opposite. I recommend iPhones and a lot of the Apple software to my older family members because it's easier to grasp onto than some of the other systems.
Okay,
But
I get what you're
yeah,
saying. And
yeah,
I misunderstood what Jeff was getting at. He says no, Apple wants you to use Apple Arcade. And DJ's also saying the same thing. Apple wants us, the user, to buy into Apple Arcade.
that
So that
makes
does make
sense.
more sense.
Mhm.
And honestly, I don't think them making it more difficult to play other games is gonna force people who wanted those experiences to just play Apple Arcade instead. I feel
Yeah,
like,
no.
yeah, if they want that, then they're gonna go do that, and they'll leave Apple alone because Apple's making it difficult. Like they could do it on Apple's platform, but Apple says no, so they'll just go elsewhere. Because that's what I would do. But then
Yeah,
again, I'm not
most
an Apple fan,
definitely.
so
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to defend their business model or ethics or whatever, but I'm just talking about technology itself. I think like what T1 is saying in the chat as well, it's hella user friendly. That is their whole shtick.
all right,
That has
fair
been their whole
enough.
shtick.
But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, the in terms of gaming, Apple has always struggled. Like they've always been
Yes,
kind of
100%.
behind in terms of games, like on the
Yeah.
Mac devices, and now with this kind of a late start, Apple Arcade did seem promising in terms of like smaller indie experiences, but it's like they have the fear of God in them when anything else shows up to do gaming. So like they really just
Yeah.
try to screw them over or steal money from them if they can't. And so everyone
They're
is
trying
kind
to
of
curb the
rebelling right now.
competition.
Yeah. But speaking of cloud stuff, we'll move on to the next topic. Amazon, who I personally thought would probably be the first to get into the streaming stuff, have
Hmm.
finally launched their cloud gaming service. It's called Luna.
Yeah.
It's a $6 a month subscription service. You'll be able to get it on your Fire TVs, your tablets. I think your browser as well. There's going to be Twitch integration because they own
Yeah.
that platform as well. That's also under Amazon's umbrella. So what's your takeaway from Amazon jumping into this fray? Because this seems to be the new big battleground, streaming.
Yeah, no, most definitely. First of all, Luna, I love the name personally. I think it's
Yeah, I
super
do think that's a
dope.
pretty cool name.
It's
I,
such
I
a
felt the same way about
calming
Stadia,
name.
to be honest. I was like, you know what? I don't know what
I'll
that
give you
means,
that.
but that fits for like a service like this.
These names, to me, I'm not trying to go too far off topic, but they're really relaxing. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and play my Luna. You know what I mean? Not like get on the Xbox. You know, like, I don't know. That's I feel
The
like it's a
Xbox just
different.
sounds really aggressive.
Yeah, like that's when you go wreck with your boys. You're not gonna wreck on a Luna or a Stadia. No, 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 no. But anyway, let's get back to this. I think this is a dope move. I think the price tag is pretty nice, $5.99 per month. With it's $50 for their original controller. Is that what that is?
I think
Um,
so. Yeah,
for
like their own branded controller, which looks a
the
lot
Luna
like
controller,
the Wii U Pro controller. It's just a little bit
yeah,
more purple hued,
which is dope,
which is
which
fine.
is
Yeah,
super dope.
this is good design. This design basically works off of the 360 slash Xbox
Yeah,
controller, which also like everything looks like this now. Honestly, the PS5 controller now looks like this. They just have the sticks in a line, and Stadia sticks are in a line, but it still looks like the 360 controller. Like it's all the same thing.
yeah, yeah. So my biggest thing, and I think this is what most people are going to be concerned about, is the games list. What can we play on this? As a new Twitch streamer, and I'm getting to like Twitch more and more every time I look into it. Um, that integration is going to be a highlight for me, depending on exactly what that means and what it is. Um, but I think that's going to be a tool that I think a lot of people are going to want to pick up. Like I said, but the gaming list is going to be the bread and butter right here. What do we have available?
Well, we do
And
know.
did you want to talk?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could speak to that a tiny bit because in the article that
mhm,
we read, they did say
yeah,
that Ubisoft is going to have its own channel. So I
yeah,
don't yet know what that means. Like you pay for this Luna service and just whatever's in that Ubisoft channel is available. Like you can just stream everything that they put in there. And what does that include? Does that include all their new releases? Is it just a curated list of old releases and whatnot? Because Amazon has, in fact, I can look it up right now. Amazon gave like a tiny list of a couple of
yeah.
games
They
outside
did.
of it. It says
It's Control,
Control, Resident Evil
Resident.
7,
Hmm.
Grid, Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. and Assassin's Creed Valhalla apparently is going to be on there, but no
Yeah.
timeline was given for, I guess, when it's going to show up.
It's funny that you mentioned that Ubisoft's just gonna have the channel, right? I was on Amazon Video or Prime Video last night, and I was trying to watch something, and it said, "Oh yeah, we got this as long as you have a subscription with this service,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of streaming services are doing that, and I'm afraid that the Luna might be doing something like that. Like, "Oh yeah, you guys
Okay.
can play all these games as long as you paid for it somewhere else."
So like a cable package where you have to sign up for the Ubisoft channel, then you get everything on
Yep.
Ubisoft's service. And what they assuming would happen is each publisher would have to put their own channel on the service, and then you just sign up a la
Yep.
carte. Like, oh well, I like Ubisoft games, so let me get that. I like EA games,
Yep.
let me get that. Yeah, that
That's what I'm
that doesn't
afraid
work
is
for
gonna
me. Yeah,
happen.
that doesn't work for me. I wouldn't be happy if that's the route they go.
That's
It's
not gonna
it's
be the
too
move.
much. It's too much nickel and diming.
Yeah.
The thing is, Amazon, like, I really thought they were going to be the ones to get into this streaming stuff or just games in general first. And we've seen them struggle, like
Yeah.
that game Crucible that they
I think
released
it's
and
like
then unreleased.
done
Yeah, they
now.
just completely canceled it now.
Yeah. That
The
game
New
is
World MMO
done.
they released on a beta. I think that had a slightly better reception, but it still doesn't really seem to be, causing a huge splash. So Amazon is kind of stumbling right now when they
Yeah.
actually have the monetary resources to just do this the way it should be done. Like what Google messed up in doing was not giving you like a big giant library of games to play like Game Pass. You need Game Pass and the freedom to stream the service everywhere to really make this appealing over just, regular console gaming. And weirdly enough, Microsoft is the only one who seems to get that. Like Google messed it up, Amazon is starting down this path, and it seems like they're not going to do the exact same thing either. Because that would need to be the very first thing they said is, "Hey, check out this huge library of games that you can play on our streaming service," and that's not what they
That
said.
I don't know why these platforms aren't leading with these game lists, because that's what the honestly that's what everyone's looking for. What can I play on this? And then we're gonna look at the specs, and then we're gonna look at the convenience. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if I have a cool console and nothing to play on it, what's the point?
Pretty
What's
much.
the point?
Yeah, like they're trying to sell you on. You don't need a console. That's old news. That's yesterday's news. You can stream in 4K. You can get all the latest stuff. There's no latency. Blah 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 blah. But if I'm playing Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, no, I mean no real shade against that game. That's probably one of my favorite gaming experiences. But it's a very short indie game. Once you're done with
Yeah.
that, like what else is there?
What you gonna do?
Like they really need to step it up in terms of game library. And the elephant in the room is Xbox Game Pass. Like no one is matching what they have right now, and they're making it difficult to do so. The more time it takes for people to copy. They bought
Yeah, because they
Bethesda
just keep
the other
getting more
day.
and more.
Yeah, like that's all first party stuff. That's not gonna go anywhere else. I doubt they're gonna let Amazon let you stream any of those Bethesda games, even if it does show up on other consoles. I doubt it's going to show up on another streaming service. Like that's a bridge too
Yeah.
far. Microsoft said themselves
Like,
that they're looking at Google and Amazon as the real competition. So
yeah, it's gonna be wild, man. I feel like Xbox is in a great position with this Game Pass, and we're getting what November 10th we're getting EA Play.
yep.
Like that's a huge acquisition. That's a lot of different games that straight to your console for that monthly fee. If any one of these other game streaming services can have the similar acquisitions on a regular basis, now we're talking. Now we got a
Yeah,
game.
now you got a competition, right?
Now we
So
got a competition. But right now,
yeah, they're not doing enough.
yeah.
And I know Nvidia Shield, I think there's like I can't remember what the name of their service is, but they also have a streaming
Okay.
service where you literally whatever's on your Steam library is what you can stream out to other stuff. But the caveat is,
Interesting.
yeah, like that's probably the only thing that rivals what Game Pass is doing. Because if you have a big Steam library, you can just play all your own games anywhere, right?
Yeah,
But their
yeah.
thing is, you have to pay for like I think like a $20 uh, a month subscription. Where
A month?
I think so. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But the thing is, there is a free version where you wait in a queue. Like you have to wait a certain amount of time to get access to the service, and then you can only play for a certain amount of time before they kick you back out, and you got to go back in the queue. So that's super disruptive to the way I play games, and like I just wouldn't want to do that, you know.
This is
So
not recess.
right, so it's like everyone else who's trying to get into this field, like they have all these stumbling blocks that really shows you kind of how much it takes to try to do this right. Like it really is a very big undertaking. So it really boggles my mind every time when companies like Google and Amazon, who have the resources to do this stuff and they have the roadmap that Microsoft has laid out to do it right, just don't. It's like they're not taking it as seriously. Microsoft has teeth in the game. They know the commitment that's necessary to get gamers on board with the service. Like cuz they've taken their licks over the years. These new guys, I guess they don't get it. So it's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. In a sense, I was kind of rooting for Amazon to really stick it to Xbox when they stepped on the scene, and I've not seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not seen it yet, but hopefully they put up a better show in the next coming months here, because Game Pass is about to take the F off.
Agreed. All right. So Jeff said Sigma quoted. But we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic here. The new Spider-Man movie. We've been hearing rumors for weeks now that different people from other Spider-Man properties, like the Sony rebooted Spider-Man, Benedict Cumberbatch from Doctor Strange, that they're all going to be making appearances here. There were hints to it, I think, in the last Spider-Man movie, right, where they showed, like a poster about something that happened in like a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. I forget the reference. Someone in the chat probably knows better than I do. Like at the end of Far From Home, there's some kind of reference to something that wasn't in the Marvel Spider-Man stuff. But now we're getting confirmation that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in that movie, and that Jamie Foxx is going to be reprising his role as Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man series. So everything just screams multiverse and Spider-Verse, like the chat's saying right now. What is your take on this? Because I know you're not a fan.
As I'm not a distinguished writer yet, but I'm a film student, and as a writer, I hate multiverses. I hate time travel. You guys have heard me say this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a cheap device used to kind of jump in the shark. You know what I mean? That's how I feel with this now. One, I hate articles like this. I've said this before on the BBT Games cast, because these are spoilers. I'd rather just go in there and be like, oh, snaps, he's there. You know what I mean? Like, that would be mind-blowing. But now I'm going in there like, okay, when am I going to see Doctor Strange? Ooh, when am I going to see Electro? Like, it's spoilers. But,
no, I get that, yeah. Because that would be totally mind-blowing if Jamie Foxx just showed up in the Marvel movie. Yeah, right? Like, that would be... Folks would lose their mind in the theater.
Exactly. That's why I hate news like this, because it just ruins that. But I understand that in whatever degree, this is what they have to do to get people hyped for these movies. So Benedict Cumberbatch, I thought I liked Doctor Strange a lot more than I initially thought I would. When I started watching the movie, I was actually on a plane because I had no interest in it before. I was on a plane and I'm like, man, look at this douchebag. How do people watch this whole movie? And then he got put in his place and I was like, yo, this not too bad, you know? And it was like a whole mind visually. So I actually liked Doctor Strange. Jamie Foxx's Electro, I think it's an unpopular opinion, but I actually liked his Electro too. Like, I thought it was super dope.
I like Jamie Foxx, but I didn't actually see him in that movie. Like, I've seen bits and pieces of the second Amazing Spider-Man, but I thought the first one was so bad that I didn't care to watch the second one. Like, I'm not a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man series.
I feel that. Yeah, but I was a fan of Jamie Foxx's Electro, and I know a lot of people didn't like it. They thought it was weird, it was different, and that's possibly why I liked it more. But seeing these two actors with, I'm assuming it's going to be Tom Holland going forward, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. I think all three of them are amazing performers. I think they can pull a good story together. Hopefully they can, for me at least, salvage this cluster F of where's this story going. Maybe they can kind of, narrow it back down or say exactly what they need to do in this whole multiverse traveling, whatever. So I'm interested. I don't like the story device, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm
I
definitely
mean,
gonna
I
give it a shot.
think I do agree what you're saying when you say that it can be used to try as a plot device to basically kind of correct and change things that maybe didn't go so well or didn't sell well to the public or whatnot. But in that vein, it can correct mistakes, like literal mistakes, like casting Jamie Foxx in an off-brand, well, not off-brand, but just in an off kind of side Spider-Man world, where like you're saying, like chat saying, like his Electro wasn't that bad. Jamie Foxx is a great actor, like he deserves to be in the Marvel universe, and he's kind of disqualified from it because of this. This can give you a reason to bring him back as long as they do it right. Like don't lean so heavily onto this mixing of realities thing where like that's the main focus, but like use it as like a background plot device to say, okay, yes, there are multiple universes. We know that in some alternate timeline this guy was Electro there, this guy Spider-Man there, but in this world this same guy, now Jamie Foxx, was an Electro, or it's a different kind of Electro, a better Electro than what he was in the other one. Like it just makes it make sense in that loose sci-fi way. Cause honestly, yes, my
Well,
head would
that's
explode. To uh-huh.
that's if it happens that way. What if we find out that he's traveling from multiverse to multiverse?
Well, then yeah, then you're probably getting a little too in the weeds, and like you're making it like the plot is like multiverse, multiverse, multiverse is basically all you're watching in a movie rather than the
And
actual story. And yeah, it
most
can get
definitely,
complicated and convoluted.
yeah. So
Just as
it's
his design and story was horrible in the second one.
I liked the design, and I did like his kind of background, like the push that made him Electro.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't I wasn't mad at it
You wasn't put
as
off
much
by
as
that.
most people were. Yeah,
Okay. Well,
no.
I mean, whatever went wrong with it, I guess, like the writing or the cinematography, the action, whatever was the problem. The Marvel movies, especially the Spider-Man movies, have not really missed a beat. So like giving these guys the chance to be on kind of like the winning side, like the better version of this universe, I don't think that's bad. And like this multiverse stuff can also do the same thing for like the Netflix characters. Like let's bring back Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Let's bring in
Oh man.
Punisher. Like because those were great iterations of those characters, and they deserve to be with the rest of these big name heroes, right?
I hear what you're saying. It feels more like superhero politics now. Like we're not even
no,
worried about the
you're right.
story. We're worried about who's where,
You're right.
who's hanging out with who, and how good did they look. That we're just looking for that grand screenshot where all the heroes look exactly as we imagine them. And I feel like that's more taking precedence over this story now. It's like, oh, we got to bring this person in. How are we going to make a story out of that?
Yeah, how are we gonna make it make sense to get
You know what I
this
mean?
actor whose
Like that's what
contract
the
is over?
focus.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's annoying when
And
that
it's
stuff
like,
interferes with the actual story. I get it.
because that's all we talking about. That 90% of the time, that's what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Okay, how are they going to make this person make sense in this so we can have this grand contract and put all this big poster together and make everyone,
No, I feel you.
spend that guap.
It's a genuine concern because
Hmm.
that stuff can force writers and directors to do certain things that maybe they didn't necessarily want to do, and then it waters down the plot and the movie and the experience overall just to get a few bigger names on the title card and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a definite concern, but I'm still excited. Like the Spider Verse movie, the Sony one, starring Miles Morales or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like they messed around with a multiverse, but they used it to tell their story. Like because there's so
Yeah.
much other outside factors, I feel like yes, we're getting bogged down in the reality of it. But I think there's still a chance for them to tell a good story. Because, like, honestly, the Spider-Man multiverse stories were always good. Like, back on the old Fox cartoon, like, the series, I
Hmm.
think, ended on, like, a big multiverse situation where you saw, like, a bunch of different versions of Spider-Man. There was, like, the rich Spider-Man who had, like, an Iron Man suit. There was the Spider-Man who was, like, part spider. Like, he had, like, the thing sticking out of his suit, whatever. Like, I
Oh
thought
my
that was
God.
cool. Like, Spider-Man tells that kind of story very well. So I'm still excited about what this could be.
Okay. Yeah. No. And just like you said, the Miles Morales one, it was good, right? There's always exceptions to the rules, in my opinion. And I thought that they didn't expand too much into everybody's individual multiverse
Hmm.
and saying, oh well, this world is exactly like this, and this is, they touched on it. They said, this is where I came from, this is where I'm at, this is where I came from, this is where I'm at, this is where I came from, this is where I'm at, and then they move forward through that. Everything was based on this one verse that they're on. So hopefully they do something similar to that in this upcoming you know this third movie. Um, but I'm just very weary, especially after Endgame with the time travel and all the stuff they was doing at the end. I was just like,
Yeah. I mean, I liked
all right,
Endgame. I have
guys.
no problems with it, but yeah, their time travel stuff was really throwaway, and they wanted it to be like they really didn't want you to focus on it that much. But like I felt like
It's the end of the movie. Like, hey guys, we're gonna do this big finale and then kind of like reset stuff, but don't worry about that.
yeah, like
Just all
don't
the
pay
action
too much
happened.
attention to that. Just watch the action. It's because it's cool, and it was
Oh my
so
god.
fair enough. But let me just check chat real quick before we move on.
No, he
Same was
could.
done in the Spider Verse. It could be a way to introduce Miles. Yep, I agree with that. PZ the one says
Yo,
Wanda and Vision definitely has House of M vibes.
yo. So I wish I knew exactly what House of M was. It sounds like um some trippy stuff because I've been watching the trailers for this Wanda and Vision,
Hmm.
and it feels like Legion to me, where it's just going to be a mind trip
Yeah, yeah.
for
It seems a very trippy show. Can't wait till
yeah.
that comes out.
Hmm.
So with that, we're gonna move on to more comic stuff.
Yeah.
Invincible. Robert Kirkman's
Good
other
comics now.
Robert Kirkman's other magnum opus, other than The Walking Dead. Invincible is
Yeah.
getting an animated series starring J.K. Simmons and Steven Yeun, of all people. I love that guy. I'm so glad that he's doing the voice for the younger hero in this. But Blue, you actually
Yeah.
read these books, right?
Yo, let me tell you something, okay? I don't read a whole bunch of comics. I read some things here and there, let alone finish comics. Invincible, I've read from beginning to end, and I'm doing it again right now. Invincible is so dope. The thing about this series that really gets me is that while there are um extraordinary things that happen, you have people who can fly, people who can do all kinds of crazy superpowers. Their reactions to all this seem so human. Everyone's reaction to things that happen around them feels so human and so practical that you're kind of afraid for the main character because, for example, right, any superhero will beat up a thug that's robbing a bank, leave him half dead, right, and the cops pick him up,
uh,
right.
they're like, great job.
And he's like, good job. So this guy flies off, lives his life, but the villain is still there. He still remembers that butt whooping, and he's gonna recover. And he might not take it so nice the next time. You know what I mean? Like, he's
Hmm.
gonna plan for that. And that's something that you see. Like, little guys come back, people grow over time. There's so much growth in every character that's introduced. And there's a lot of really funny parodies to existing comics in DC and Marvel. So I think, yeah, um sorry. One, I think he put his foot in this. I think he put his foot in this story, and the trailer is gonna really showed off the brutality that was in the comic itself.
Right, yeah, it's
The
very
fighting,
graphic. This is an adult aimed show.
yes, the brutality is one of the things. When I was watching the trailer before I finished it, I'm like, they better show some blood in this trailer, or it's not gonna be invincible. And lo and behold, by about 2/3 in, I think they showed Mark, the main character, about to pop someone's head. I'm not sure, but yes, I was about that life.
Man,
These
like
fights are just so grand in the comics, and I can't wait to see them animated. Go ahead.
no, because yeah, I've seen some some screen takes of like the actual book because I've heard of Invincible like for years now.
Yeah.
Never read
Mhm.
it, but because I'm not a comic guy, like that's
Exactly.
one of my weak points in terms of like nerd culture. Like I really don't read comics or manga that much, but now this is becoming an animated thing of all things. Like I think this is probably the best route for it to take because one,
Oh, 100%.
it looks just like the DC animated stuff,
I
and I'm
was
like,
gonna say
they
that.
must be behind it. I haven't gone and checked, but like this must be the same people. that they got to do this because it looks
They got a
just like the
license.
Superman, Batman, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And like they make
But
fantastic animated series is so
series is yeah.
series is so like I'm super excited now. Like I can't believe that they would bring something that's so, well lauded and kind of give it the perfect medium to tell the story.
Yeah.
So like I'm super hyped. And
Especially
it's coming to
yeah.
Amazon's stuff. Like so right along with The Boys,
Amazon
which was
Prime.
another really good adaptation from out of them. This seems like it's going to be right along that vein.
Amazon's doing a really good job of supernatural people in common environments, familiar environments. You know what I mean? You got Watchmen, you got The Boys, and now you got Invincible. And there's a
Well, I mean,
couple others
Watchmen
too.
isn't Amazon though.
Oh, it's HBO. Excuse me. You're right. You're right. That's on me. That's on me. But The Boys. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
got The Boys and Invincible right now. And I think the was it. There's another one. I think Aubrey Plaza was in it, and it was kind of cell shaded. And
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah, that
I
one.
can't remember the name of that either. That was from
I
the
started
BoJack
watching it.
Horseman creator.
Yeah, yeah. I started watching that, and it's a kind of a similar vibe where some crazy things are happening in a natural world, and the reactions seem realistic. And that's what I look for in a story. If I was in that position, how would I act? Oh my gosh, they're doing it. I can see what would happen to them if, or what would happen to me if I had thought that way. That's the immersion, and that's what pulls you into these stories when you can see yourself in those positions.
So, as someone who's read all of it already, like how
Yeah,
lengthy is the story? Like, are we expecting like multiple seasons of this show, or
100% multiple seasons. Yeah,
okay? So it does
no,
take a while to
there's
get
no,
through. Okay.
yeah. Um, it's such a wild ride. Just within the first 8 chapters. Now you gotta, if you're gonna start reading this, it's gonna start off like your typical superhero. It's gonna feel Disney-esque, to be honest. You're gonna be like, okay, well, he's a teenager, he's in high school. Okay, it feels like Saved by the Bell. It feels like Power Rangers kind of deal. Okay, then it lets you know this is real because after all that Disney stuff happens, there are repercussions. And there's DJ said 7 seasons. Yeah, I could see
Oh, is
seven
that
seasons of
confirmed,
this
or is that your hypothesis?
stuff. I have no idea, but yeah, I think this is gonna be. I think it's gonna shake some people, and I think it's gonna have a similar impact as The Boys is having. That's right.
All right. Nice. So
Yeah.
we're gonna move to our final topic. Recently, Sony
Hmm.
released what's called a teardown video. They literally took the massive, massive PS5 and not ripped it apart, but took it apart. And
Dismantled it.
yeah, they unscrewed everything they need to do. So there was a lot of interesting things that came out of this. The first thing I want to take note of is the fact that the PS5 has a very intricate base. Like, it needs the base to stand either right side up or
On
sideways.
its side.
Yeah, you have to unscrew it from the base on the bottom. You slide it onto like a little dot. You put like the screw for the base inside of it, and you turn a little knob, and then like you have to sit it down on the side because the freaking console isn't straight. Like it won't lay down flat if you were to just lay it down there
Yeah,
without the base. So the base has to
like
suspend it off the surface.
little monolith.
And I'm like, that is super complicated. I mean, it's not like so complicated you couldn't do it, but it's like way more complicated for turning your console one direction or the other than you would ever need. And to be fair, most people they're gonna put their console in one orientation, and that's just how it's gonna be, for the end
I
of
was
eternity.
just about to say
right?
that. I was just about to say that because I never turned my Xbox upright because I never needed to, and
Right.
I always found a place to keep it flat, even though I've moved it all throughout the house.
Right. But still, like, I still think that that's kind of ridiculous that they would design it that way.
I see. I feel like one thing I really liked about this dismantling, and actually why the PS5 is so big, is it's easy to work on. It's easy to get to certain parts. The components are relatively easy to take apart, and I've seen people talking about how they want to customize all this stuff, and I actually appreciated that more than I thought I would when I heard that was the reason behind it. So I'm not too mad at this whole IKEA list of things that you have to do to make it go one way or the other.
Mhm.
I wish my Switch was easy to take apart so I can maybe do some maintenance on it, or you know, I can have a one replacement part set and I could just swap it out pretty easy. I think that would be dope. But PS5 is actually giving us that option. It's kind of the argument I've had with the controllers between the Xbox One and the PS5. A lot of folks say, "Oh, Xbox controllers, sorry, PS4, Xbox controllers, you have to get new batteries all the time." Well, you have the option of getting a rechargeable battery or
Mhm.
doing, your regular batteries. You don't have that option with PS4 controllers. You just got one thing, and you got to swap that boy out once it's done. That's how I feel about these consoles now. There might be parts that are easily swappable with the PS5 that are not going to be nearly as nearly as
Easily
easy to
to swap.
swap.
Okay.
Yeah, on the Xbox One. So that's what I'm appreciating about this design and about the design of the PS5.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I do appreciate a modular system, something you can like take apart and swap things in and out.
Yeah.
But I do think in this case, that's kind of what PCs are for. Like when you're a gamer, like the PC is what lets you do upgrades in this way and that way. The PS5 isn't necessarily going that route. Like it's still a console where you don't upgrade the console itself, but they make it so that you can rip off the sides and maybe put on new faceplates, which was a 360 thing. Everybody remember the 360 faceplates?
Yeah.
So like maybe that's
Oh
an
my
option
gosh.
that they're going for, like customization. But then you literally have to rip that open to put in any additional storage space. So like unlike Microsoft where you literally and they're super expensive, $220. Well, that's the market price. It's not like Microsoft is charging
Yeah.
more. That's the market price for a external SSD. It's a little thing you just plug into the back of the Xbox. Done. That simple.
I hear you.
Yeah, on Sony's end, you got to rip the side off. You got to unscrew a thing. You got to put a thing in there, screw the thing back on, and put the sides back on. Like it's a more involved process, and I feel like the console player, in most cases, doesn't want to do that. They don't want to void the warranty by opening up their PlayStation.
I hear that. That
So
makes sense.
it's just more complicated than it needs to be, and I just wonder like
There's-
why would Sony of all people who have the bigger, the more casual, eyes on them. Like if you're thinking of video games, the first thing a regular person who's not super invested in gaming is probably going to think of is either Nintendo or PlayStation. They're not going to really think of Xbox. They're going to think of, oh, I used to play Nintendo, or oh yeah, all my friends play PlayStation. So like, why would they be the ones to have this console that lets you kind of tinker with it a bit? It just seems odd to me.
They're telling these casual gamers to level up.
To try to teach them something.
Yeah, man. They say bite the bullet. Look, everyone's gonna have to learn this at one point or another. No, realistically, I see what you're saying. There's more opportunities for it to go wrong than to go right. I think that's kind of the gist of your argument, and I understand that. Overall, I can see more people messing it up than actually doing upgrades or maintenance to the PS5, and I hope that's not going to be the biggest problem. And maybe they'll have a solution for that. Maybe there's pop-up PS5 repair shops.
There's a whole second-hand industry.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, with the way that it's built, there could be a lot of local repair shops that maybe get Sony certified and could just do maintenance on spot. I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about. There's just
it seems
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's an extra step for a thing that's supposed to be easier. You buy a console to have just a compact, easy experience. Jeff is saying there's an Xbox video on how to lay it sideways, and it's literally just turning it on its side. So like that's them clearly trying to throw shade at Sony for what Sony did to them previously, where they was like, oh, this is how you share games with blah 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 blah, and Sony had the video where you just hand somebody the game disc. So like clearly they want to recapture that kind of aesthetic, because Sony is kind of doing what Microsoft did. They're overcomplicating things. They're trying to sell you on just the fact that we were super popular. Now you'll kind of just deal with everything we want to do going forward. And I really got to wonder how like the diehard or the less diehard Sony fans are taking a lot of this stuff, because it, to me at least, like it's kind of, I'm just wondering why. Like, why are you doing it like this when you could be doing it like that?
I feel you.
Like that box is
That's
huge. It's so big.
it is. I personally think it looks cool.
Oh, I think it's ugly
But
as
it's
hell,
huge.
but I really do think it's a bad looking
It's
thing.
from the future.
Yeah, like somebody definitely was like reading some sci-fi novels and was like, oh, let me.
Oh, that's the one.
Yes.
That's the one right there.
But yeah, so
Oh man.
the video, they eventually do take it completely apart, so you can kind of just see all the stuff that's
Yep.
it's made out of, and it gets a little too technical for my liking because essentially you're just completely deconstructing the console. But we already know that it is the weaker of the two, like in terms of Microsoft and Xbox. It does supposedly have some kind of special version of its solid state drive that is maybe faster than what Microsoft is using. So, I mean, we've yet to really see what these consoles can do yet. Like the media who has gotten boxes still only have well, they've only gotten boxes for Xbox rather, and they still only have like a prototype version, not like the final hardware. So
Right.
on the Sony side, they're still kind of keeping it close to the chest. Like the media doesn't have one of their own to look at. Instead, they did this video where they showed you the inside and was like, so you can talk about this as opposed to doing your own hands-on testing. So
It's a little scary. It's a little reminiscent of that TED talk that they had when they
yes,
first started releasing information. And not that it doesn't show us anything. This video was a little bit more informative to the casual gamer or the normal person.
Mhm.
But yeah, at the end of it, just kind of like you're saying, they kind of went into the weeds. They're like, "This is liquid metal on this blah blah blah," and I was like, "Yo, ain't nobody care, bro. Honestly. We just trying to see how this comes apart. How's it gonna fit in my house, and what games can I play on it?"
Like I don't.
That's always
They still haven't shown like the UI yet, have they?
yeah. Ooh, no, not that I know of. I have not seen a UI from the PS5, or have they shown a UI for the
Yeah,
Series X?
yeah, they have.
Okay,
Cause like I said earlier, like press and stuff, like they've gotten boxes, so they know kind of what like the
right.
interface is and like how it loads up games. It's loading up older games. They have no like next gen games on it yet, but
Mhm.
apparently it improves load times on pretty much anything it plays right now. And that was another big
That's
thing, is that Sony released a list of 10 games that won't work on a PS4. They're games that probably nobody cares about. So it looks good right now in terms of their backwards compatibility for PS4 at least. So
Yeah.
you'll probably be able to play most of your PS4 games on the PS5. Just maybe some are missing certain functionality, like I think the share button doesn't work and some other things may not work for certain games or whatnot.
Mhm.
But in general, we don't know what the PS5 does for the PS4 games. Like, will there be any enhancements? Will they run faster off of that SSD? We don't know because Sony hasn't told us. They haven't shown us. No one's been able to test it. And we're less than a month out, or I think literally a month out, right? Before this console is
Yeah.
out and about. So
Yep.
what is it that they're holding on to? Like, are they nervous about anything? I don't know. It screams of just non-confidence.
Trust us. Just trust us.
Yeah, like
Just
I don't
buy it
know.
and trust
It doesn't make me feel good about what they're eventually gonna have come out because their store, their interface and stuff, for me at least, has been one of their weakest aspects. Like the interface, their online connectivity, like how their menus and stuff work. Like it's not very user friendly to me.
Yeah. Mhm.
So a rewrite of that would get me excited if I'm like, oh, this is the new PlayStation Store, front, new face of the UI, all the stuff, and it looks a lot better, cleaner, easier to get to your stuff. I would be excited for that because it's new and exciting, and
Yeah.
it's shiny. But they won't show it.
They're just waiting for you to say that, and then tomorrow they're gonna drop it.
Probably, yeah. We'll probably get all the information we're looking for sometime later this week. But with that, I think we've actually hit our time for this week.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for coming through and chatting with us. Thank you, Blue, for coming on our first episode of the Sigma Show.
No problem.
Tune in next week because we will be back. Follow Blue at BlueBones, BLUB0NES is how you
That's
like to
right.
say it. You can follow
That is
me
how I like to say it.
at Sigma Gears 9. Our names are on top of our things here. And if you guys have, questions or news topics or whatnot, join our Discord.
Yeah.
The link for it should be somewhere. I'll probably post it in the chat before we're done. Well, before I turn the stream off or whatnot. So
Yeah,
that's it. See you guys later.
that's it.
We out.
We're gonna work on them side offs.